let's get into it.
Yeah, Brahman and Bruhman. It's season 2, yo.
Season 2.
Season 2. Yeah, we're gonna be flipping the script a little bit, talking more about current events, and what the spiritual view on that event is, because you've got the view. The news is always going to make a hero and a villain, or maybe it's maybe it's some type of political story. But what would the spiritual view on things be for that particular news or current events? Because our people want to know. They want to be realized. They want to be conscious about every issue. So.
Definitely, and you should be. And we got some interesting stuff going on over there in your neck of the woods, right?
There is some interesting stuff going on. So here's the scenario. I mean, and we've all seen preachers, and they the public preachers, and they tend to stand in very public places, usually at a beach. I don't know what it is about a beach. Maybe they get the nice cool breeze. Maybe it's high traffic or whatnot. Maybe they're trying to hit a certain demographic. But you get these preachers, and this one was a Christian preacher, and seemed pretty extreme. His name is Dory Love. I've heard of him before. A friend mentioned him in passing one day about how he had some extreme views, regarding a lot of things. And one of those things was the LGBT community. And, he's kind of preaching conversion therapy or whatnot. But, the gentleman, first he was at the beach, and, I guess, was spitting a forceful message. Maybe there was an anti-gay message in there. And I guess, RCMP spoke with, or the cop spoke with him a few times, but really couldn't do anything about it. Then from the beach, he moved into the gay village in Vancouver. Every city's got like their gay community. This guy went into the middle of the gay community, set up his speaker with him and his Asian buddy, and they started going hard on the kind of the anti-gay kind of conversion thing in the middle of the gay village. And I guess it was going on for a while, and then eventually one gentleman came out, member of the LGBT community.
He came out.
He came out of his well, he was already out. But he came out of his apartment. He comes out of his apartment, and this guy's actually a sportscaster on the radio.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and apparently he's more of a bigger guy. I wouldn't say he had muscle. He's probably over 200 pounds, 220 or so, right? 230. And this guy had enough, and he comes out and approaches the preacher, Dory Love, and he says, "Hey, I don't pay a high rent here every month to listen to this kind of bullshit," and then they went back and forth a bit, and eventually the guy who came out of his apartment, the citizen, tried to snatch the microphone out of this preacher's hand, and he may have successfully snatched it and maybe got away with it, but then the preacher and his buddy caught up with him, put him in a couple of WWE moves, you know what I mean? And the guy ended up on the ground, and he shattered his leg, and now has to have a metal rod in his leg for life, apparently. So the cops showed up. The preacher said he was assaulted. The microphone was taken out of his hand, but what ended up happening is both the preacher and his associate were arrested for assault and taken to jail for the night. So that's what happened. Man, that's some crazy shit here.
Man, that is pretty crazy, man.
What's our take on this? What's your take on these? First of all, on a preacher spitting the conversion therapy message in the LGBT part of town. Is that asking for trouble?
Well, I think, we do have to respect if that's what we feel that he's been called to do, he can speak that. Probably not the best place for if somebody wants to receive his message. So, I think sometimes I remember being in Vegas one time, and a guy was on the street screaming, "Everybody's going to burn in hell." I'm like, but it's 2:00 in the morning. You standing out here too.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you don't, if you feel like that's your message, are you casting it in the right place? So, I'm not familiar with the guy. I'm not familiar with either of these guys. But I tell you one thing, my take on it was when I first heard the story, I'm like, man, something really must have happened for it to escalate to that situation. And then when I seen the video of the who we're calling the preacher, but I also want to address that too. He said the guy pulled the mic out of his hand and pushed him.
Yeah.
So my whole take on it is like, if we just take away the titles, you said we won't give the radio show guy a title, we won't give, you know, the guy we're calling the preacher a title, just two human beings, and we just look at the situation like that. It's like, you might not want to be putting your hands on people and coming out. I mean, because if he's standing on the corner just saying that, and somebody come at him, and this guy looks.
Well, he had a microphone and a speaker, and it was, you know, he had a microphone
he's
and a
going
speaker.
in, microphone and speaker. But I mean, you know, if somebody, you know, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in America, if somebody was to take snatch your cell phone out of your hand, that's assault. You know, and then I mean, so
it's
just
assault here as well.
But you know, when they throw in titles and they're saying, hey, this guy broke this guy's leg, and they're using titles on news media and stuff like that, I think they're trying to get you to pick a side before.
Well, that's the story. That's why I was talking. That's the news's reaction. There's a hero and the villain, and it's, you know, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the media to go to side with the preacher. Although two guys are making
a mistake. You know, this guy is taking his message to probably somebody that really don't even want to hear his message. So he's kind of like, you know, the Bible talks about that too. He's probably just, you know, he's just doing what he wants to do, you know, not really saying, hey, where strategically can my message be heard? And then I didn't even know the other guy was a radio host. So he probably just said, hey, I'm a loudmouth too, and we can go at it a little bit, you know, but, you know, can we not do it in intellectual discourse? Because I did see a little clip that you sent me with the guy, and it seems like, okay, have you ever bumped into a street preacher before? Their whole thing is they want to say things to get people riled up because they got to get the crowd to engage. They're
very intense.
Yeah, because you want to get the crowd to engage with you so you can get a crowd. You know, you can't just be out there singing Mary Had a Little Lamb. You got to say something that gets somebody fired up a little emotionally so you can have a little, because, I mean, if nobody's coming around, that's be very discouraging.
You got to get there. They're usually very loud. Most of the time, it sounds a little bit abrasive. You know, I don't think, opposed to you turn on the TV on the Sunday morning and you see the preacher and he's got the sweet tones and the kingdom of God. If you give yourself to Jesus, that's a completely different tone than the street preacher just said, there is no entry to heaven.
Yeah.
Or the LGBT gay.
They gotta get the people attention.
And you know that it's a little bit disturbing if you're going about and you're just kind of like, why do I have to be subjected? Is this not a noise violation or something? You know what I mean?
Call it in. I don't think either man had any right of putting their hands on one another, you know, because anything can escalate. You know, I'm not playing the devil's advocate, but on the other sense I am. You can't go and say, hey, I'm going to put my hands on somebody and then be upset by what happens afterwards. You know, you gotta if you're gonna come with that type of energy towards somebody, then they bring the energy. It's like, it was a little surprising to see the headline, but I've seen headlines like that before. I remember one time I picked up the newspaper and two guys, a black and a white guy, got in a fight, and they said it was going to lead to a race war. And it's like, why would you put that in the paper? And then I talked to an officer that was there, and he said it was just two drunk guys that got in a fight.
Because they've got to sell you the story. In the newspaper, you look at the first few pages, they're advertisements anyways. We're being sold advertisements, and they disguise it as news. They don't make money off reporting the news. They get money off of their advertisers.
Well, then you wonder how people get these discussing opinions of one another, and you know, they don't really get an understanding of what's going on because you're just looking at snapshot news.
You want to draw them in.
There's a race war going on outside. And then you got somebody that sees that and they're a little bit motivated and more charged to actually carry out some massacre or something like that. And then we got complete devastation. So we got to be really careful when we label anybody with titles, and really careful when we're looking at the news. I'm just stepping outside the situation and see what we can do to kind of grow and learn from the situation. Yep. For the preacher, he probably needs to pick better places for people that might want to hear his message. If that's your point. Now, if you just want to rile people up and get emotional, which I think some street preachers do. I think that's the whole idea behind it, is to kind of draw a crowd of people that are emotionally charged, and then you're just going to get in a good argument. And, you know, then they feel like the day is a good thing. Because from what I hear, this guy's been spit on and all type of other stuff. And I mean, you know,
Yeah,
he's
yeah. Well, he picks the worst type. Like he'll go to
yeah.
like the kind of the gay parade or whatever, and then he'll spit a forceful message. And the obvious, the intent there is that and I have to ask you this: is there an anti-gay message in the Bible, or is that misunderstood? Because if there is, the very presence of him being there, he doesn't even have to give an anti-gay message. It's all kind of symbolically that's what it is here you have a LGBT parade, and then you have this preacher there spitting a forceful message. Why is he particularly motivated to be there?
Well, that's his own motivation, though. I mean, he wants to be there, and he feels like I continue to say, he feels like that's the place for him to be. You know, now are you casting a message to somebody that doesn't want to hear it? It's just like, you know, you keep on telling somebody that wants to do whatever they want to do, and you say, you know what, you should get a better job. Hey, you know what, you should get a better job. Be like, I'm happy at the gas station. Oh, you know what, you should get a better job. I'm happy at the gas station. So if that's what he feels he should be teaching, you know, is he casting his pearls to the wrong group? You know, so that's up to him.
So he is definitely not a good representative of the Christian religion.
Like I said, I don't know him personally, and I really don't. I'm not familiar with what he's teaching. You know, if he feels like he's getting across to some people, or if he feels like his message is across to somebody, I mean,
So just to kind of wrap things up here now, so you had the street preacher, he assaulted um the citizen. The two preachers were arrested, and just based on what we have going on in kind of the world right now and on social media, this case is going to be decided in social media, and there's no way that the judge is going to side with the preacher on this one, or
well, I
else
don't I
it
don't
would
know
be.
about that because they said they have video. He's saying that they record all the things that they do.
Hmm.
So the guy's saying that they were saying some things. So if he find out that they were saying, you know, some hate speech involved, yes, he's going to be in some major trouble because the provoking came from that side. But from the preacher to him. But if they find out that this guy just came up and ripped out when he was just, you know, doing his regular teaching, then I think it could probably go the other way, even though the guy was arrested. So, um, but they said
He
they
was
recorded
arrested. He
all.
spent the night in jail, and they're
Yeah.
both charged with
Well,
aggravated assault.
yeah, they
So,
took his phone. They took it. I mean, because I mean,
well,
if you
evidence,
just
right? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they took his phone. But yeah, then the evidence is going to show like what really happened because I'm interested to see what the whole thing
It'll
of
be
it
very
is.
interesting. But from
Because
the
he said
worst,
go ahead.
yeah, no, I think he was recording everything. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is, I guess, what we can say here is this guy's an extremist, and every religion has extremists, doesn't it? And that's not a really good representation. And it seems like he's looking for trouble, don't you think?
I mean, he could be like I said. I only sent that Snapchat that you sent me, and I didn't even see what had happened. But that's what it sounds like from one news medium to
Yeah,
the other news medium.
yeah.
I can only speak on that. So, but when the whole thing comes out, we will know what's happening. But I mean, he's a street preacher, so I
Hmm.
mean, so
From a spiritual point of view, or just from you yourself, how do you interact with street people? Do you just let them be? Do you have a
oh man,
particular
I just let them
opinion
be,
on
man. They
them?
just hey man, if that's what you want to do, if you want to go and you know you want to, I mean, I've seen a few. I mean, I've seen several in several places, and I mean, you just don't engage with them. They're looking for. I mean, and that's what I mean. That's like there's no knocking to what they do, but they're definitely looking for somebody to have an emotional exchange with. It's more of an argumentative type of style.
Hmm.
You know, I'm really not on that. I want to have conversations so we can both build on both sides. I think anytime you have a conversation with somebody, you can grow. So, and,
Yep.
and that's where you want to be at. You want to be at growth at any level if you're talking about from a spiritual sense. So you might be able to gain some deeper insight. And generally when you yell at people, they're not, you know, it's just like we talk about in our earlier episodes, we talk about sound. You know, when somebody's yelling at you, it causes a kind of
That's the
frustration
whole
in the
thing.
body. So it's the tension. So, you know, then you're going to draw the same type of tension. So um, maybe they're meant for each other. Maybe they're meant to clash, you know. But where a person like me walks out there, I'm
Yeah.
going to see you, but not see you, you know. But somebody that has a little tension and frustration, they generally meet somebody with some tension and frustration in
Or
them
else
too.
why would you snatch the microphone from his hand if you hadn't reached that point? If you were the
Yeah,
Buddha, or if you were like, what would Jesus do in this situation?
yeah.
What
It's
would
just, I
Jesus
mean,
do?
they both have some inner turmoil, man. They both have some inner turmoil. Cause all, I mean, everything you got to realize, everything that's even happening, like you see, and then this is just an isolated situation, but you see this inner turmoil in humanity right now,
Yeah.
where everybody's just at, you know, they're restless. They got a lot of, you know, things coming out of
Really
themselves,
passionate
you
about
know,
something.
are really passionate about something and really, really eager to even point the finger outside of themselves at why there's so many problems. But we really need to look within ourselves if we're going to, you know, ever change the situation on this planet. You know, but it's everywhere though. I
It
mean,
is.
it's
If
not
you watch
just,
an NBA game and it's there on the back of the jerseys, everyone's
yeah,
making a passionate statement right
everybody's
now.
making a statement right
It's
now.
just that
So
year.
it's the year of change, man. It definitely is, man. It's the year of change, lots of change. So
It's an intense year for sure. It is for sure.
it's super intense, man. But you know, I mean, it is intense, and I mean, there's a lot of thought patterns going out there. But what I've challenged people to do is begin to think for yourself,
Yeah.
and all kind of, you know, they say there's two sides to every story, but you know, you can always step aside and see the whole picture. You know, like what's the end game? Like what result are we trying to achieve from either side, and is there a better thing that could last us and make the future better, make a better tomorrow? Is what I'm trying to say.
No, absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, you said it perfect there. Do we want to get into the kind of the Jacob Blake story? That might be something you know a little bit more about, or what happened there. Is that something that's causing a bit of a stir down there for current events?
I mean, not here locally. I think in America it is. That's another one, man. It's. I haven't really seen all the tape. I did see the shooting. I did see him walking to the car. A lot of people upset about it because it's another police shooting. But you know,
What,
I
7
think we have a
shots?
lot
Was
of
it 7? Am I wrong?
seven. Yeah, he's
Why
paralyzed
do you
from the
need
waist
7?
down. So,
Why do you need
huh?
7 shots? I mean, you shoot somebody once or twice in the right. Like if you shoot a guy in the quad or in the knee,
I
I'm
mean,
not saying
anything. I
that they're
mean, you know,
experts. Like
yeah. But you
7
could
is
though. I mean,
just
they're trained, so I mean, you know, you could shoot to put somebody down where they're not in any harm, could any way harm you.
7
Uh,
is like I'm trying to kill the guy. Especially if it's 7 from the same officer, if it was multiple shots fired from multiple weapons, I don't know. But if it was 7 straight bullets from the same officer, that's an attempt to take your life right there.
yeah. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, yeah,
He's
yeah. And then
lucky.
you know, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, I hope they had their cameras
Oh, there's
on,
plenty of
so they can,
footage.
and there's footage. You know, there's footage from afar. So once they start piecing everything together, and we know a little bit more
Man,
about what's going on. But
I think Snoop Dogg posted that on his Instagram. Like I kind of realized what it was, and I said, I'm not going to watch this
yeah, it's
just
hard to
because
watch, man.
I didn't want to take myself off the task. Not that I don't want to, you know what I mean, be aware of what's going on, but it's traumatizing. You know what I mean? And you don't really
It
need,
is.
you know, I know what's going on. Do I need to be traumatized? I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, again, I mean, again, we just got
Extremists might
traumatized
say I
after
do
they.
have to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, in due time. I mean, it took me a while to even watch the George Floyd thing, you know, because it was just so, you know, I heard so many things about it, and I seen
I haven't fully
different
watched
clips
it.
of it.
I
So
couldn't bring myself to fully watch it. I said, why, you know what I mean? But during his funeral, they did a full moment of silence for the entire moment that his knee was on his neck.
that's crazy.
That
Yeah.
all
So,
that all sharp in one.
and
But
then I mean, then it happens again. So I mean, you know, hopefully something changes out of this year, you know. But
yeah, man.
yeah. I guess
No,
do you guys have things like that happen up there? I mean, do you
not
see that a
like
lot, or that American phenomenon?
like RCMP incidents are very, they're called RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, because they used to ride around on horses, right? They don't ride around on horses anymore. But it's not really like that. It's pretty like here, like there's such a mix of people. Like, you know, there's there's a lot more even distribution. It's not like blacks, whites, Latinos. There's a lot of Asian people down here, a lot of brown people, Indian people. Then you have your Europeans, and then there are, like, you know, there is the black community, and everyone's just a normal citizen. No one is viewed anymore like, no one is stereotyped in any way. If anything, people say Asian people are rich or Indian people are hard workers, you know what I mean? But there's no negative stereotypes against Black people in Canada. I don't know about Toronto. I know it's a little bit different. It's more of a United States culture, right? But here, no. So police incidents few and far between, man. There's like some gang activity, like Hells Angels and whatnot. But it's a pretty peaceful place to live. You'd love it down here, man. You got to come down here.
I'm on my way, man. I'm on my way, brother.
With this whole travel
senior
ban gets
vacations
lifted.
and stuff like that. You went on a spiritual vacation and
Yeah, man.
up in Canada, man. What's going on?
Come down to Canada, exactly. And I don't know, kind of like maybe like a final current event. I don't know if the Mike Tyson Roy Jones fight is postponed. I heard rumors. I got to double check it. But what do you think about that fight, Roy and Mike? Over in the 12-round exhibition. Who do you got?
They got 12. Oh man, I hope they don't do 12.
I think it's 12 rounds, but I'd like to see a powerful 6.
3. I want to see a good 3.
A good 3. Yeah. Oh, then Mike will be going knockout mode. He's like, only
get
3
a good
rounds.
3 and get it out of there. Yeah,
You can't put Mike in there for 3 rounds. He's going to be looking for the knockout, man.
I do think they look really good, but you can piece together a real good clip, and really not. And so, but I think they're in really good shape. But they fought. They both have. I think they both have over 50 fights or something like that.
They do. Tyson's the bigger fighter,
and Tyson's the bigger fighter, and they've both been hit a lot. Well, Tyson has been hit as much as Roy. I think some of Tyson's come from some of Tyson's brain injury come from doing other things in his life. But it's but I just want them to have a good fight and be careful. I know everybody wants that ferocious Mike to come out.
That's what they want.
I don't want Roy to get hurt either, because I mean they're
or
it's
Mike.
One thing
we don't want to see Mike go down.
Neither. I don't want to see neither of them going. I just want to see some good boxing, see some good skill, show they still have it. Challenge each other, but they got to be very careful, man.
Let the undercard have the knockouts on there. I want to see some good fights on the undercard, right?
Let the undercard have it. Throw in some Instagram stars or something. Let them.
I heard De La Hoya wants to come back. Maybe he's going to be on the card. Who knows? We'll see what we got. You know what I mean?
Who's going to fight? Floyd Mayweather? I mean, I know they were at odds for a while. Maybe they'll come back and do a rematch.
Yeah. No, that's that. I know we're both looking forward to that one, but that, we'll have a great podcast that day.
Yeah,
baddest man on the planet.
It's gonna be a good fight. I'm gonna buy it. I know I'm just kind of worried about them guys. I'm just worried about their health more than anything. I know they think they can still do it, but being 20 and fighting and being 30 years later after taking a lot of damage, we seen what happened to Ali. We seen what happened to.
You're right about that.
Huh?
You're right about that.
We've seen what happened to many other greats, and then a lot of the damage they took. I mean, come later off in your career when you don't step the same. And Roy was a bad dude. Like, I know everybody's talking about Tyson.
Loved it. Hands behind the back.
Oh my goodness, Roy was quick. I mean, he had the head movement. Yep. But as soon as Roy began to get older and began to lose a step, then people started to catch him. So and he's in his mind. In your mind, you still think you're a fast. Just like back in the day, we still think we could run all day, we can do all day. Now you got to pace yourself. You're like, oh, in the morning I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. So it's just a different game. And in their mind, they probably still think they have it all, but it's a little different.
You're right, man. That's going to be fantastic. We're looking forward to that. But, I think that was a pretty good first episode for season 2, recapping the current events. That was pretty awesome, man. It was awesome to get back online with you and just put out another episode for our fans.
That was good. It went by pretty fast, man. It went by pretty quick, man.
It did go by pretty quick.
Yeah, it did go by pretty quick. Yeah, it should be interesting what people think about the whole situation. But I just really want to challenge people to think outside of the box in every situation and really observe, opposed to take sides. There's that Mark Twain quote: "If you watch the news, you're misinformed. If you don't watch the news, you're uninformed." So and that's where we're at with the news and the media. So we really want to get all the facts before we jump to conclusion, because nowadays social media is the court of public opinion. So as soon as you see that snapshot, boom, your ass is wrecked, you know, are they're going to, she's popping up in the back, and they're going to crucify you as soon as possible. So with no second thought. And then when the information really comes out, it's too late. You know, once the snapshot news comes out, people make their opinion. But let's say if somebody says something bad, they're going to jump all over. And then once they clear it up and you really see what happens, you know, people have already made up their mind. Half the people are just going out and saying now the bad news is spread, and it don't make a difference to make it up. So make sure you're thinking for yourself, because independent thought.
Meditate on it. Meditate on it. Take some time.
Meditate on it. Yeah. What would you do? You know, what could both people have did better? You know, really step outside the situation. See it from a spiritual perspective, and step aside and say, you know, because in the earlier thing we talked about, both men were actually wrong for various reasons. You know, because you know, but you know, that's just
out of thousands of people passed him by. Then the one guy that snatched his mic got his leg shattered.
It's that energy, man.
And has a metal pin in his leg the entire time for the rest of his life. I bet he's wishing that he would have just walked by that preacher and not even paid attention.
He said he would do it again. I mean, he said
he doesn't want to go through the pain again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think
do it again for the
guy
fame
was
only.
Smaller too. The guy was, you know, I don't know how big. The other guy looked pretty big, and the other guy was really kind of small for. He said the guy was 6'2" and maybe between 200 and 300 pounds, and this guy he looked a little bit maybe 5'8", maybe I would say he's average man's height, and he said he's about 170. He looked kind of skinny. So I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought that would have ended up this way. I mean, from the outside, if that was the Tyson and the Roy Jones fight, where would you have placed your money? If you just seen both of the people, you've seen them both, right?
Yeah.
You've seen them both. You put them side by side. This man versus this man, who would you have picked?
The preacher versus the gay sports radiocaster.
I mean, not even no titles. No titles though. There's no titles.
Well, if we're going professional wrestling style, they need names, right? That's an interesting one. Yeah, but definitely the sportscaster was bigger. Definitely was bigger, but that's an interesting one, man.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy knew some MMA or something like that. He said when he was saying the report, he's like, the guy put his leg behind his other leg. I'm like, man, what? I'm interested.
All I gotta say, it must have been very painful. Yes, because he had to get a rod in there now. It's pretty bad. It's not like he needed a cast. He had to get a rod in there. Yeah, like hell he'd do that again. Only because now, right? I'll break your other leg right now, brother. You want to do it again? I'll make you a hero.
Maybe he'll let him heal up and let him go at it again. Let him get a fair shot, you know, since they know they're going for a fight, you know. But you got to be very careful, you know. You don't want to always approach people with the energy you want to be received at. And the people that's giving off bad energy and stuff like that, they always draw those same people. I've seen it so many times in our life where people have wanted some bad interaction, and they always draw them same negative.
Seek and ye shall find.
Seeking you shall find, man. Knocking it shall be open. And anything and that's in all things, you know, just like, you know, we talked about on our episode when we were talking about money. And if you seek that, if you seek, you know, different prosperity, you seek bad energy, you seek an argument, you know. So, you know,
we all find what we're looking for, don't we? Have you ever really looked for something?
Huh?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, seeking shall find. I said, have you ever really looked for something and not found at least some of it?
Yeah, you'll find it.
Seek and you shall find. It's all there.
You know, looking to find love, you know. Have you really sought it out, you know? Some people say, oh, I'm looking for somebody special. We might do that next episode. We need to do a love episode.
Let's
do
it.
The ladies want the love episode, you know. We're going to give you some love tips. But, you know, you want to be in love, but is you really seeking after? You know, do you really know what you're looking for in a significant other, you know?
There you go.
You really know what you're looking for. And have you really, what does that look like? You know, you say, oh my goodness, look at that person. They check all the ones on this list. But this other list, you know, that's how you get with somebody that's nuts. But we'll cover that next episode.
That sounds good, brother.
Preview.
No, it's been good chopping it up with you. And awesome. Can't wait till next week.